The seatbelt cut across my chest like a blade of fire. My ears were ringing, the smell of smoke and gasoline sharp enough to choke me. My car sat sideways on the shoulder of the highway, hazard lights flashing, one wheel still spinning helplessly in the air. My phone buzzed in my pocket, insistent, like it didn't care whether I was bleeding or broken. I pulled it out with trembling hands. The cracked screen lit up with a text from her. Having lunch with my best friend. Just call an Uber. The words didn't even land right at first. My ribs ached with every breath, my head was spinning, and yet all I could think was, she was sitting comfortably at a restaurant, smiling across the table at him, while I was fighting to keep my eyes open. I dropped the phone on the passenger seat, where shards of glass glinted under the flashing emergency lights. My throat went dry. I wasn't dead yet, but something inside me, trust, love, the illusion of loyalty, was already buried. My name is Ryan Calloway. I am 28 years old, and on the night of my car crash, my girlfriend told me to just Uber while she enjoyed her meal with her so-called best friend. The EMT arrived minutes later, shining a flashlight into my eyes, asking me questions. I answered mechanically, still stuck on her text. The whole ride in the ambulance, I could see her face in my mind, laughing, maybe leaning closer to him, maybe even brushing his hand when the waiter wasn't looking. If you're watching this, I said softly into the camera of memory, drop a comment, hit like and subscribe. Because what I'm about to tell you, it isn't just a story. It's a warning. The hospital was bright, sterile, and cold. Machines beeped, nurses clipped wires to my chest, a doctor stitched a gash above my brow. I wasn't thinking about pain. I wasn't even thinking about survival. I was thinking about how easily she discarded me, like my accident was just another inconvenience to her evening plans. I remembered the first time she introduced me to him. "This is my best friend," she had said, smiling too wide. He had that smug handshake, the kind where he squeezed too tight as if to test me. Something in my gut told me then, but I ignored it. Love has a way of silencing instincts. And now, love was gone. When I was discharged the next day, bruised and stitched, my family came to pick me up. My mom, Gloria, was the type who worried out loud. Her voice trembled as she asked about every little bruise. My dad, Mark, stood behind her, jaw tight. A man who had worked 35 years in construction and never let pain show. My sister, Emily, hovered close, clutching her phone like she wanted to text someone about me but didn't know who. And then there was my brother, Luke, always skeptical, always the first to point out when I messed up. "Where was she?" Luke asked flatly. "Your girlfriend. Did she even show up?" The silence between us said everything. My mom looked away. My dad muttered under his breath. Emily squeezed my shoulder, but Luke shook his head. "I told you," he said. "No one's best friend spends that much time at dinner with your girl." His words dug into me deeper than the stitches. That night, lying in my own bed, I scrolled through our old pictures. Her smile in those selfies, the way she'd kiss my cheek when I wasn't looking at the camera, it all felt staged now. And then I stopped on one picture, her birthday last year. I had surprised her with a trip to Chicago, candles, wine, her favorite cheesecake. But even then, I remembered her phone lighting up with his name. She said, "Don't worry, he just checks in on me." I clenched my fist. I hadn't listened. Days passed. She didn't call to check on me. Not once. Instead, I saw her Instagram light up with stories, drinks, laughter, that same best friend tagged in the corner. It was like I didn't exist. The fury built slow, coiling like a snake. At first it was grief. I cried alone in my room, wondering what I had done wrong, why I wasn't enough. But grief hardened into something colder. Cold fury. One evening, Emily sat beside me on the porch. She was the good one, the loyal one. She leaned against my shoulder and whispered, "You don't have to take this lying down. She broke something in you. Don't let her walk away like nothing happened." Her words lit a fuse. I knew what I had to do. The plan started simple. I reached out to an old friend of mine, Tyler, who worked at the police department. He was the one who had called the ambulance that night, who'd actually seen my wreck before anyone else. "You really want me to do this?" he asked over coffee, raising an eyebrow. Yes, I said. My voice was steady now. She needs to hear it. She needs to feel what it's like when the truth walks up to her table and rips the smile off her face. Tyler leaned back. You know I can't break protocol. But off duty? Maybe I could pass a message. That was all I needed. Meanwhile, my dad told me stories at dinner of how betrayal ran in our family. His own brother once cheated him out of an inheritance, a cabin in Michigan that was supposed to be split. I let it go, Dad said bitterly. And I regret it every damn day. His regret became my fuel. Because I wasn't going to let it go. The following weekend, I got the word. She and her best friend were meeting at their favorite spot again. A trendy little bistro with patio lights and wine glasses always filled to the brim. Tyler walked in, uniform pressed, badge gleaming. He walked straight to her table. She was laughing at something, her hand too close to his arm. But when she saw the cop standing there, her smile faltered. Are you? She began. Tyler set my cracked phone down on the white tablecloth. The one that had lit up with her text while I was bleeding out. Message from Ryan, he said. His voice was calm, professional. He wanted me to make sure you got it. Her face drained of color. She stared at the cracked phone like it was a bomb. Her fork trembled in her hand, a piece of pasta sliding off and landing back on the plate with a wet splat. The man beside her, her so-called best friend, shifted uncomfortably, glancing between her and the officer. What message? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Tyler didn't flinch. He wanted me to let you know that while you were enjoying your wine, he was still strapped to a gurney. Stitched. Bruised. But alive. And he remembers exactly who didn't show up for him. Silence stretched over the table. Diners nearby leaned in, sensing drama. That's the thing about betrayal. It has a way of turning ordinary evenings into spectacles. I wasn't there physically, but Tyler had promised to record it. Later, when I watched the video on his phone, I saw the exact moment her eyes darted toward her friend. Guilt and fear mixed on her face. That look was worth more than any apology. When Tyler handed me the footage, I didn't feel relief. I felt hunger. The kind that gnaws at you when payback isn't finished yet. I replayed the scene over and over. Her pale face. His nervous hands. The ripple in the restaurant as whispers spread from table to table. For a moment, she knew what it felt like to be exposed. But I wanted more. Because memories don't fade easily. Like the time she said she was working late. I had waited outside her office for an hour, only to see her car pull away with him in the passenger seat. She laughed when I confronted her later. You're paranoid, Ryan. Don't ruin us with jealousy. That memory festered. At home, my family gathered around the dinner table. Mom asked me if I was healing okay, but I could see the worry lines deepening around her eyes. Dad poured himself a stiff drink. Luke, ever the skeptic, folded his arms. So, what now? Luke asked. You got your message delivered. You humiliated her. End of story, right? Not even close, I muttered. Emily leaned forward, her voice firm. Don't let this destroy you, Ryan. But don't you dare let her walk away clean either. Her loyalty was fire in my veins. The next phase came together in my head like a chessboard. If she thought betrayal ended at lunch dates, she was wrong. There were deeper cuts, financial, emotional, even legal, that I could strike with precision. First, I dug into her past. Years of bank statements, joint receipts, texts she thought I'd deleted. I pieced them together into a timeline that painted a damning picture. Trips she claimed were with the girls. Gas station receipts near his apartment. Hotel charges 2 towns over when I thought she was visiting her mother. Each proof was a dagger. And then came the biggest one. My name was on the lease of the apartment she lived in. I paid half the rent, half the utilities, because I thought we were building something together. But now, that lease was leverage. I confronted her 2 days later. Not with yelling. Not with tears. With papers. She opened the door, surprised to see me. Ryan, you look better. I stepped past her, into the apartment that smelled faintly of his cologne. My voice was ice. I'm not here to talk. I'm here to end this. She blinked. What do you mean? I pulled the folder from my bag and laid it on the counter. Bank statements. Receipts. Screenshots. A copy of the lease. I want you out, I said. 30 days. Legally, I can evict you faster. But I'm giving you the mercy you never gave me. Her mouth opened and closed. You can't just. I can, I cut in. Because while I was on the highway, bleeding, you were having dinner. While I paid your half of rent, you were sneaking around. And while I loved you, you loved yourself more. She flinched like I'd struck her. She tried bargaining. It was just, he's been there for me in ways you haven't. You get so wrapped up in your family, in your problems. That line hit a nerve. Because my family had been my anchor. Yes, we were flawed. My dad bitter over the cabin inheritance. My mom drowning in worry. Luke's cynicism. But they showed up. They carried me when she didn't. I leaned close, my voice a growl. Don't you dare blame me for your choices. Don't you dare drag my family into your excuses. She shrank back. That night, I left her with her best friend, and the weight of proof stacked against her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked out, the echo of the door slam following me into the night. But revenge is never just one layer deep. I wanted her to feel what it was like to lose everything she leaned on. So I reached out to her mother, a woman of sharp judgment and even sharper tongue. We'd spoken often when things were good. She once told me I was the most stable thing in her daughter's life. I sent her copies of the receipts. Not the whole folder, just enough to show the cracks. Her response came in a single text. Thank you for telling me. I'll deal with her. I could almost hear the storm brewing behind those words. Days later, Emily burst into my room with her phone in hand. You have to see this. She showed me a video, my ex and her friend arguing outside a bar. Her mother's voice cut through the chaos, yelling at her daughter about betrayal, disgrace, wasted chances. People recorded, posted, commented. By morning, the video was viral in our town. Her perfect little facade crumbled in the span of hours. But even as I watched, part of me felt hollow. Was this enough? Did it fix the nights I lay awake, hearing the crunch of metal and the buzzing of her text in my head? Not yet. Because the accident wasn't just a crash. It was a line in my life. The moment before I trusted her, and the moment after when trust was nothing but ash. And I wasn't done burning the rest of her lies to the ground. One evening, Dad pulled me aside. Son, revenge feels good at first. But make sure you're not the one who ends up broken. I met his gaze. I'm already broken. The only thing left is to make sure she knows what she shattered. He sighed, like a man who had carried his own regrets too long. The final stage of my plan was forming. Something public. Something permanent. And when it hit, she wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose the last shred of reputation she thought she had. The night air smelled of gasoline and rain when the idea finally crystallized. Revenge wasn't just about shaming her in front of friends, or confronting her with receipts. It was about permanence. Something that would mark her betrayal in a way she couldn't scrub clean with excuses. I sat on my porch, bruises still aching, stitches pulling when I frowned. My sister Emily curled up beside me, holding her coffee. You're scaring me, Ryan, she said softly. What's next? You've already torn her mask off. Everyone knows now. Not everyone, I replied. My voice sounded strange even to me. She still hides behind half-truths. I want the truth to speak for itself. Emily reached for my hand. Just promise me, don't lose yourself in this. You've already lost enough. Her loyalty steadied me, but I couldn't stop. The opportunity came in the form of a community fundraiser. A charity dinner held downtown, full of donors, business leaders, and families. She'd been volunteering with the committee for months, smiling for photos, shaking hands, pretending to be some shining citizen. Perfect. I worked quietly. My brother Luke, skeptical but strangely intrigued, helped me pull together a presentation. Not a rant, not wild accusations. Just cold, hard evidence, receipts, texts, timelines, laid out like a case file. Are you sure? Luke asked as we printed the last page. You're going nuclear. I looked him dead in the eye. She left me to die on the highway. I'm not pulling punches. The night of the fundraiser, the hall glowed with fairy lights and crystal glasses. My dad insisted on coming with me. Emily squeezed my shoulder before I walked in, whispering, "Finish it." She was already there, in a blue dress, standing beside her best friend. They looked comfortable, confident. She even dared to laugh when she saw me, like I was an uninvited ghost. But ghosts can speak. The microphone crackled as I took the stage. People clapped politely, thinking I was another sponsor. "My name is Ryan Calloway," I began, my voice echoing through the hall. "Some of you may know me. Some of you may not. But tonight, you're going to know the truth." Eyes turned. Forks froze halfway to mouths. I held up the folder. 2 weeks ago, I was in a car crash. While I sat trapped on the highway, bleeding, my girlfriend sent me this message. I read it aloud, word by word. "Having lunch with my best friend. Just call an Uber." Gasps rippled through the crowd. She stiffened, eyes wide. "This isn't just about a text," I continued. "This is about months of betrayal, hidden behind excuses and lies." One by one, I revealed the receipts. The hotel charge. The gas station stops. The pictures. The timeline. Her mother sat in the front row, face pale, jaw tight. The so-called best friend tried to slouch into invisibility. "She didn't just cheat," I said, my voice breaking with rawness. "She abandoned me when I needed her most. That is who she is. And I will not let her wear a mask in this community any longer." The hall erupted, murmurs, whispers, some people clapping, others shaking their heads. She stood abruptly, tears streaking her makeup. "You can't do this here." But I already had. She fled, dragging him behind her, the entire room watching. That was the moment the cold fury finally began to melt. Not into forgiveness, not into love, but into something harder, closure. When the crowd settled, people approached me. Some offered sympathy. Some offered nods of respect. Even strangers came forward saying, "You did the right thing." But it wasn't about them. It was about me taking back the power she tried to strip away. In the weeks that followed, her world collapsed. Her job dropped her from projects. Her mother cut her off financially. Friends she once flaunted stopped answering her calls. And me? I healed. Slowly. The bruises faded. The stitches dissolved. But the scar above my brow stayed, a reminder etched into skin. One evening, I sat with Dad on the porch. He poured us both a drink, his hands rough, his eyes softer than usual. "You finished it?" he said simply. I nodded. "I didn't want to carry your regrets, Dad. I wanted to end it." He clinked his glass against mine. "Good. Then maybe you'll heal lighter than I did." Still, I had nights where her face haunted me. Her laugh in the restaurant, her excuses in the apartment, her pale horror when Tyler set my phone on that table. Betrayal doesn't leave cleanly. It lingers, like smoke after a fire. But I reminded myself, I had family who stood by me. Emily, who lit the fire in me to act. Mom, who worried but never abandoned. Dad, who taught me the weight of regret. Even Luke, cynical as he was, who helped me put the pieces together. I wasn't alone. She was. If you're still watching this, I whispered to the imaginary audience of my own mind, have you ever faced betrayal? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Because we all carry scars, but sometimes, sharing them makes them easier to bear. Time moved forward. Seasons changed. I rebuilt piece by piece. And her? Last I heard, she'd moved to another city. Trying to start over. Maybe she'll succeed. Maybe she'll always carry the shadow of what she did. Either way, it's no longer my burden. I carry enough of my own. One night, as rain pattered on the window, Emily asked me quietly, "Do you regret it?" I thought about it. About the pain, the chaos, the whispers in town. About the viral video of her mother screaming, the fundraiser humiliation, the fallout. "No," I said finally, "because betrayal demands a reckoning." And I gave her one. Emily nodded, satisfied. I looked out at the storm and let the silence hold me. Because in the end, revenge isn't about rage. It's about balance. And I was finally standing upright again. Have you ever faced betrayal? Never let them walk away clean.